I thought I'd do my second video this week. I thought I'd do it from the camper van. I thought since I've been up here and tidied it up a bit and everything, and I thought actually why not do a video from here? It makes a change, and I really love this space. I feel very very happy here. So it's quite nice for me to do a video from here. It kind of takes me back really to when we were travelling around France, and it was all quite an exciting adventure trying to find somewhere to live. And this was our home, and it was so good to have this space. So it didn't matter wherever we were, even though we were in different places, different locations, and everything was, everything was strange. We always had this place to come back to, so it felt like something was the same. And because, like I've shown you on another video about the camper van, we had a lot of little pictures and things up and made it our own. We had far more pictures up than we have now, and lots of things from people back home, so that was nice. So yes, I thought I'd just do a little video from here. And I think this week I thought I'd just talk a little bit about our journey through France and our search for the house really. So I think I left off last time, we were travelling through northern France, and we'd had our first night in the camper van, and we were sort of learning how to live in the camper van, how to live together in a camper van. So that was another thing. I have to say, we didn't actually find that a problem. A lot of people have said to us, like, oh my God, wasn't that awful living so close together for that time? But it wasn't for us. It seemed to work for us okay. We had enough, we felt like we had enough space. Some of the time the weather was good as well. We could be outside, and I suppose we were just in that adventure mode, so maybe that helped as well. So really that wasn't actually a problem for us. We quite liked the small space. I particularly liked it's very easy to clean. It's like now this place has been kind of not used over the winter, and I've just come up and given it a good clean in half an hour, and that's what it was like. It never took long. At that time we had a carpet down as well. We actually fitted a little carpet, so it was kind of warm as well. So we continued on our journey. We didn't really know where we were going. We had no fixed route plan or anything like that. We had a map, and we knew we wanted to be south. We wanted sunshine, and it was March, so we were looking for the sun, so we just kept going further south, and we'd see things like occasionally. I remember getting to a place called Narjac, which isn't actually that far from here, and that was the first time we saw a lizard. Now by then it was probably the end of March, and we thought, wow, seeing this lizard was a really good thing because it showed that we were somewhere warmer, we thought. So that was good. And we went, first of all, actually, we did have a little plan. First of all, we went and stayed at a place called Railmont, which is south of Albi. And we'd actually booked a week there. Now, this was quite organised, actually, when I think about it. We decided to book a week in this place that had been recommended to us quite early on in our trip to France, because we thought that we would probably be really ready to have a bit of a break. We weren't sure how things would go with the camper van. We thought it was probably going to be quite stressful leaving everybody and leaving Settle and things like that. And so we booked this place for a week, and that was a really good idea. So we arrived at this place, and this couple called Sonia and John, who were just lovely. They welcomed us, and we were a little bit, I think at that point we were kind of a little bit shell-shocked, a bit sort of like, it was all a bit weird. We'd had all this build-up to coming, packed our camper van and everything, set off on this journey, had various breakdowns already, and I think we just needed that time, and that was the perfect place. They were so lovely, and the place was really nice. Just simple, but it was good, and they were very welcoming. And because they were English, I think, and they'd lived in France for quite a while, so they were able to reassure us as to, they'd made a go of it, and that was encouraging to see someone actually doing it. It was nice. And so we spent a week there, and whilst we were there, it was supposed to be like a kind of restful week. But even so, we couldn't resist starting to look for houses. And so Tom was looking on this site called Le Bon Coin, which is a French site. It's really good for finding houses and things. And it was suggested by Sonia and John. So we were looking on there, and we saw a few houses that were within our price range. Now, our price range, that's a good time to mention that as well probably, was we had £45,000, and that was our total amount of money we had. And that was to, you know, if we needed to do it up or anything, that's all we had. So that was our price range. And we'd written out a little few paragraphs or few sentences in French, saying what we were looking for, so that when we went into estate agents, we could actually pass this little page over of the sort of thing we were looking for, and we wrote it in French and then in English as well. And that was one of the most useful, simple things we could have done, because we couldn't speak any French. So that was really helpful, that when we went in, which was actually quite nerve-wracking, just walking into estate agents, especially if you don't speak the language. So it was good being able to have this bit of paper to give them, and they seemed to like that as well. It gave them something to go on. And so, yeah, so we found one or two cheap houses in this area, which was a bit north of where we were staying, real months south of us. And so we set off, we made an appointment. No, we didn't. At that time, we just set off. We set off up to this area to see if we could look at the houses and find estate agents. And we went to a little town called Norcelles, which is about 17 kilometres from here. And we were just ambling around the town, looking in estate agent windows. And we looked in one window and noticed they had a couple of properties that were sort of in our price range. There weren't many in that price range, so it was quite easy to narrow it down. And we went inside, gave our little bit of paper over, sort of was saying, you know, what sort of things are you looking for? And I just turned around, and inside, you couldn't see it from the outside, but inside there were houses displayed. And one of them was actually our house that we've ended up buying. And I just turned around and saw it, and I said, like that. So just pointed to it. I said, something like that, because it just looked so cute on the picture. And she said, oh, yes, well, I can show you that one. And so we went, I think it was that day or the next day. We had to come back again. I think we had to amble down again in our camper van and return the next day. And she made us an appointment with an English-speaking estate agent. That's right, there were the two of them. She spoke French, and then there was an English one. So we had an appointment with her, and she took us to see two houses. The first one we didn't like, and we didn't like it. And then the second one was our house that we ended up buying. So it was the second house we saw. And when we walked down the hill, and I looked across at Tom, and I saw his eyes, and I thought, oh my God, he loves this house. I could just see it in his eyes. It's like he'd fallen in love. And I thought, I liked it, but it wasn't a house as such. It wasn't something we could live in. And I was really hoping we would find something that just needed a bit of paint and decorating, but it wasn't to be. So we had a look round. This estate agent called Claudia, she lives in our village, and so she was really helpful. And it wasn't clear at the time how much land was with the house. I think the whole plot was 1,300 metres, I think. There I am with numbers again. But it was less than we have now. But it wasn't clear if this bit of land came with it, and we definitely wanted some land. And there was also a very tumble-down barn, and that looked really scary. She just kept saying, well, it's very dangerous, and as if it was really a bad thing. And again, we were like, wow, a barn as well? Even though it wasn't like a completed barn or anything that we could use, it just looked interesting. And so, yeah, we had a good look round and we liked it. And then after, it was lunchtime when we finished looking around, so we went up to the village, and we hardly ever ate out whilst we were travelling. We had so little money that we were really careful. And so if we went for the occasional coffee somewhere, that was a bit of a treat, and it was usually only so that we could use the internet. So we decided, because it was lunchtime and we'd sort of really liked this house, and it was only the second one we'd seen, we decided to go out for lunch, and that was really nice as well. So we just had lunch in our little restaurant here, Marie and Bruno's, and again, it was a big deal at that time because it was so hard not being able to speak. The language was really quite nerve-wracking at times. And he was so lovely, the guy there. And also the other disadvantage, if you like, is the fact that we're both vegetarian, and that's not good in this area because it's a real meat-eating area. It's really beef round here, and foie gras, and all of this, tripu, and it's very meaty. So two vegetarians arriving in your restaurant who can't even speak the language isn't always, well, probably wasn't a great thing, but he was so welcoming, and he said, he could do as a salad and chips, and we had this lovely Roquefort salad and a plate of chips, and it was just lovely. And I remember us eating outside, and that all felt good. So good vibes, I think, on that. And yeah, we went away, and Claudia, the estate agent, said, look, you need to go and look at other houses. And she said, go, there's no rush. And in France there is no rush. It can take ages to sell houses, although it has speeded up a bit more recently. But generally 2 years to sell a house isn't unusual. And because ours was a little, barn really, well, it had been a house, but it certainly wasn't habitable. And so I don't think there was going to be any rush of people wanting to buy it. She didn't seem to think so anyway. We felt like there was a rush because we liked it. So we set off and we went further south. We went right down to the Pyrenees, to a place called Foix. And I remember ringing my mother from there, and she was plotting our route. She said, well, where are you now? And I said, oh, we're in Foix. And she says, oh my gosh, you're going so far, stop. And I think that was it. Well, we were nearly heading into Spain. So we did stop there, and we looked a lot around that area because it was nice, sort of south of Carcassonne and around there. It was very nice. But they tended not to have houses, that we could afford. We were shown a lot of strange things like piles of stone in a field, a garage, which this estate agent was really convinced we could live in this garage and turn it into a house. And we were shown a lot of unusual places. Some of them were lovely. Remember this little house that was right near, in your garden. You had this train line, this train track went through sort of at the end of your garden. We thought that was quite interesting. And yeah, we saw some amazing places, but not anything that had a garden close by. A lot of them down there seem to have a small place in the village, and then a garden is at a bit of a distance. And so yeah, we travelled all over. We had a good time, mostly a few traumas with various things with the camper van and stuff, but mostly it was good. And we enjoyed it, and we stayed in some lovely places. Like I say, these airs are so good. It's cheap to be in them. You don't have to pay to be in most of them, and they've got the facilities you need, and they feel safe, and it just feels a good way of travelling. If you've got a camper van, it's great. So that went really well, and we travelled round, and altogether we travelled 4,000 miles in the camper van, which really for this old van was quite something. And really thanks to Tom just being able to keep it going when it broke down. And so we got to the point, the other area we wanted to look at, so we'd sort of identified the Midi-Pyrenees as an area which is just huge, and that's where we were, that's where we are. This is the Midi-Pyrenees, but it's a massive area. And we sort of got to the point where every house we saw about 30 houses or types of houses, whether it was stones or garages, but we saw 30 houses, and each one we had a little checklist, and we always scored them, and nothing came above this one that we ended up getting. This was always top. We did see one other which is quite close by. We still see that house, and it's been done up beautifully. Very similar to this one, small, tall, that kind of house. And that was second. That had a bit of woodland close by that went with it, which we liked, and it was in a nice little village. But this one was always top. And so we decided not to go and look in the Charente, which was our other area that we were quite interested in. The Charente is further north and over to the west of France, and there's a lot of lakes. It's much flatter, and we realised also we like hills. We come from, well, we were living around Settle near the Pennines, and yeah, we like hills rather than just the flats. So the Charente's quite flat, and we got to the point we thought we've travelled for 4,000 kilometres. The van was really starting to struggle quite a lot, and so we decided not to go up there and to put an offer in on this house. So we went back to the estate agents in Norcel and said we wanted to put an offer in on the house, and I think the house was up for sale. I can't quite remember this, but I think it was up for about 45,000, which would have been most of our money, because that was euros, of course, and we had £45,000. But we knew that we couldn't really afford to buy the house for that and then do it up, of course, because it would need quite a lot doing. And so we offered, the estate agent encouraged us to put in whatever we thought, and we knew at this point that the house was probably a bit overpriced. Having seen all the others, it was a good idea to do that, because we got more of a feel for the French housing market, because with our UK heads on, the houses all seemed ridiculously cheap, so it was good to have something to compare it with. And so we put in an offer, I think, for €30,000, so it was a lot less. And sure enough, they turned it down. And so then we put in another one for, I think it was something like 33. In the end, we paid €33,500 for our house. And the estate agent helped that a bit, because I think they took a bit of a hit on the commission, so we didn't pay quite as much commission, and they helped the negotiation, which was really good. And so, yeah, they accepted it. Well, actually, they didn't accept it straight away. He had 3 sons, the owner. The owner was our neighbour. He lived next door to us, and his wife, and they had 3 sons who actually, the house was in the son's name. And so he had to check with all of them. And so Claudia, the estate agent, said, just go away and I'll let you know when I hear anything. And so we had a whole week of being camped out in, I think we went to a place called Sauveterre de Rouergue, which is not too far from here, a lovely little place. And so we went and stayed there for a while with the camper van, where it then persisted to rain for the whole time we were there. And then when we went to Rodez, we decided to go to Rodez as well, so we went there for a couple of days, and then we finally heard back from the estate agent. And it was quite hard, because we did have a mobile phone, that was good. The internet access was always difficult. We had a sort of dongle thing which didn't really work that well, or we went into cafes and restaurants and used Wi-Fi. So it was a little bit hard being in touch, but anyway, we heard back and they accepted the offer. So €33,500 is what we bought our house for. Some of that is the estate agent's commission. So the house itself cost €29,000 with the land as well. So it was very cheap, but it wasn't much of a house either. So that was brilliant. So we were very, very happy. And then we went and signed the first part. There's 2 parts in France when you're buying a house. So we signed the first part. And in France, that's legally binding. So if the owner pulls out at that stage, they have to pay some money, I think 10% or something of the cost of the house. So, and then at that point, we went back. We left the camper van in the airport at Rodez, in the car park there. And we went back to England, imagining we were going to be there for about a month or something, maybe 6 weeks, until we had to come back and sign the second part. And in reality, we ended up being there for 3 months, but that's a whole different thing. And but that's how we found it. It's a kind of quick version of how we found our house and how we came to be here. Okay, so I'll say bye for now. And if you like these videos, like below or click the subscribe button, and then you'll get more in your feed. And yeah, any questions, put them in the comments below. I'll answer any questions that you have. Okay, so have a good week. See you. Bye.